What's up, fellow collectors? JCM45 here with yet another action figure review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Medicom Mafex Batman Hush Superman. And this is Superman as he appeared in the Batman Hush storyline. He appeared for, I believe, like 2 issues where he was brainwashed by Poison Ivy, him and Batman got to fight, good stuff. And so now we have a figure in that style. That's the Jim Lee style from that comic book arc, and pretty excited for this guy. We haven't really gotten that super perfect 6-inch scale Superman figure, so I'm really hoping this guy might be it. There's a lot of hope there. So before we take it out, we'll, like always, take a look at the packaging. Now, this packaging is very similar to the Batman Hush packaging that we saw last year from the Batman release. It's the same blue, kind of simple box art there with just, you got a promo picture of Superman, Batman Hush in that same style as the previous release, the DC logo, the Mafex Medicom toys, as well as the window showcasing Superman. Flipping on over to the side here, you just have Batman Hush with a shot of Superman there, looking pretty good. Flipping on to the back, you have your usual promotional shots. We've seen these posted online numerous times. You got a couple looks at the faces, as well as some of the poses he can hit. Flipping on over to the other side, you have a nice full shot of Superman, looking pretty great there. Flipping on over to the top, you got the Batman Hush logo. You have Superman in a kind of fierce pose there. And then flipping on over to the bottom, you have the standard barcode and legalese nonsense that I can't read because I cannot read Japanese. So, now that we've taken a look at the packaging, let's get this figure out of the box and see if he is going to be our ultimate 6-inch Superman. Alright, and here we have the Man of Steel out of the packaging, and he's looking pretty great. Can't complain too much looks-wise with this figure. Medicom did a very nice job of capturing that Jim Lee style from Batman Hush, which is where this figure is based from, and so he looks really good in that respect. Let's get a closer look here. We'll start at the head, moving up, and as you can see, that head sculpt there does a pretty good job of emulating Jim Lee's art style there. You do have some blue highlighting done in the hair to kind of bring out the detail, as well as kind of emulate that comic book style effect where they use blue to highlight black, so that's really cool. Really appreciate that. The cape is a wired cape. We'll take a look at that when we look at articulation, but it is a nice red, and as you can see, it does have the yellow S punched in there. They did a good job with that decal. Flipping on over to the front there, you can see the S shield there at the front. That has a nice clean paint job, and I really like the blue they used for this suit. I know a lot of artists like to give it a more dark and more almost royal blue, but I kind of like the lighter blue on this particular figure. I think they did a really good job. I do like the red as well. However, the yellow seems to be a little paler in comparison to what we're used to. So that is what it is. I think that is fairly accurate to the source material, so it is what it is, but I have seen some complaints about the colors being not quite as vibrant as they should be online, but they're okay. I can't really complain too much about them. Moving on to the sculpt there, you can see it is a nice job representing Superman's musculature. You have a decent wash there to bring out shading and bring out muscle details and all that kind of stuff. Moving on down to the Superman trunks there, they're pretty good. It's nice to finally see the trunks get some representation, because we've gotten a number of Superman figures that haven't had the trunks, although with the recent McFarlane figures we've been getting more and more. Moving on down to the legs, they look good as well, and the paintwork here on the boots from the blue to the red is nicely done there. I can't complain too much. Take a quick look at his back. There's his Superman butt, and then there's the back underneath the cape with his musculature there. And so that is Superman. So let's take a look at his articulation. Starting at the head, it is on a ball joint, or a dumbbell joint with a ball at the top. The traditional Medicom style with the kinked dumbbell joint there. That's pretty standard. We've seen that numerous times. The head swaps out pretty easily, can't complain. That can turn all the way around. It can't unfortunately look up. It can only look up that far, which is really disappointing because it can't really hit any of those flight poses that we wanted to do. And that seems to be a consistent issue with various Superman figures we've gotten over the years. None of them seem to be able to look up, which is bizarre to me. I don't know why anybody refuses to do that. But he can look down pretty well. He can look down that far. And then the neck is also on a ball joint, so you get some pretty good tilt. Moving on down to the shoulders. They are on the ball and cap system to kind of emulate that butterfly joint, so you can get good rotation. They go forward about that far. They can go back about that far. The shoulder itself is a hinge and swivel system. It can arc up about that much. It can rotate all the way around. And now, one of the QC problems, it's not too bad, it's kind of nitpicky. The shoulders are a little loose. Not too bad to the point where it's going to cause issues, at least not in the long run, at least not that I can tell. But they are a little looser to what I'm used to, so it is what it is. He does have a bicep swivel. Now, I have seen reports of people saying he had a similar problem to Wolverine, where the bicep was not inserted all the way, causing it to come out rather easily. I have not experienced that problem. My biceps are completely fine. I have no problem. We've got a double jointed elbow, which gets some good range. It doesn't get quite as good range as some of the thinner figures because of that musculature there, but pretty good. We have a ball joint in the diaphragm and gives some good range of motion. It can twist. It can kick side to side. It can only look down that far, but it can arc back it can kind of arc back. But then again, like most Mafex figures, the waist is also on a ball joint too. So when you use them in conjunction, you can get quite a bit of a crunch there, quite a bit arc back, and some good tilt. Oh, and then before I forget, the wrists are on the traditional hinge and swivel system that Mafex figures use. Moving on down to the hips, here is another QC issue I ran into. This hip was actually not too bad. This hip, though, almost completely frozen when I took it out of the box. Honestly, I couldn't even really move it without fear of breaking it. So fortunately, I was able to apply a quick treatment of chalk oil, and that loosened it immediately right up. And so now it kicks freely. I have no problems there. So if you guys have tight hips or tight joints on these guys, please, 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 don't try to force it. Use shock oil. That will definitely work. So, moving on to the thigh swivel, he does have one. He can twist. He can kick. He does have drop-down legs, like the rest of the Medicom figures, so that's nice. Gets a little bit more range. He can kick out about that far. He can kick back about that far. He can spread. Oh, a little bit better than Peter B. Or maybe about as good as Peter B. Not too bad. We've got a double jointed knee. Can kick almost all the way back. Not quite because his leg is a bit thicker, but it works. Very good range. And then we have a forward-facing pin for rocker on the boot, which can turn. It can kick down that far. It can kick up that far. And then we have a toe joint, which this one seems to be stuck. But that one works. I'll have to free that one up. But that is articulation. Next up, we'll talk real quick about Clark's cape. As you can see, it is a red material there with the yellow S-shield punched in. And it does have two wires along the sides there that allow you to get some good dynamic poses. You can have it flapping in the wind, flapping to one side, whatever you kind of want to do with it. It gives you the opportunity to kind of mess with. And it works really well. It's not too cumbersome like Batman's cape was. Batman's cape was pretty heavy, pretty cumbersome. This, I feel like, is just right. It goes pretty much down to where his boots meet the costume, which is fairly accurate to how Jim Lee drew him during this time. And I also like how they did the neck. So if you bring out the cape here, you can see they actually tailored some folds into the material itself to get it to drape as it should, and so I thought that was a really nice job. I haven't really had any issues with wires breaking, knock on wood, or anything like that, so I'm pretty happy with the cape. It looks good, and it's not a super mess or a big pain in the butt like Batman's was. Big positive. Taking a look at Superman's accessories, he comes with a couple things, not a ton like some of the other Medicom figures we've been seeing lately, but he comes with a decent amount of accessories. Starting off, he does come with a pair of fists on the figure, and then a second pair of fists as well. So that's kind of nifty. I'm not sure why they included a second pair, but cool. Comes with a pair of relaxed hands, a pair of flat hands for flying poses, or attempts at flying poses since he can't really nail them that well with his neck, and then a pair of open splayed out hands. He also comes with a swappable hand with a fist with a kryptonite ring for Batman, the blue version. So that's pretty cool. A little DLC. Comes with an alternate head, a teeth-gritting angry head, and this looks good. Looks pretty much just as good as the one on the figure itself. The only difference I would like is I would have loved if they added one more head, a smiling head. I think that would have been great, but I don't think he smiled that much in that actual storyline, so it is what it is. He also comes with a couple vine effects, one for his neck or his head. That is a softer kind of bendy plastic, so you can just kind of put that where it is, and then two that go over his fists. And the reason he has these is because in the storyline, Poison Ivy brainwashes him and makes him fight Batman and Catwoman. And then, of course, we get the obligatory Medicom stand, which, I've said this numerous times, not my favorite, but it's nice they include them. Next up, we have size comparisons, and first off, we're going to compare a couple Superman-related characters, and then we'll take a look at some other Superman figures. So first off, we're going to take a look at, I know he's not a Superman character, but the Medicom Mafex Hush Batman, Medicom Mafex Hush Superman, the DC Icons Superboy John Kent, and the DC Icons Lex Luthor. And obviously these two are going to scale well together, at least you would hope so, since they're from the same line, same subline even. And they do really well. Superman is just slightly taller than Batman from what it looks like, so that's great. But then he also scales great with DC Icons figures. So if you have any of those, like the Super Sons 2-pack, or any of the other ones like Lex Luthor or anything like that, they all go really well together. I am very happy with how the Mafex line is pairing up with those. Those are great, so those look fantastic together. Next up, we'll take a look at other Superman figures. On the left here, we have the first DC Icon Superman that was just a little too short, and he had kind of a weird face. We have the second iteration of the DC Icon Superman, this time in his rebirth costume. We have the Medicom Mafex Hush Superman. We've got the Mezco 1/12 collectible Superman here, and for the longest time I was using the 1/12 scale, or the Mezco 1/12 here, as kind of my definitive comic book Superman whenever I needed it for pictures or anything like that, but the proportions were always a little weird. They weren't quite accurate to what the promotional materials were, and he was only okay. The only reason I liked him was because we didn't really have anything better. But I think this guy is going to take it as terms of my definitive Superman. And then on the far right here, we have the McFarlane DC Multiverse 7-inch scale Superman, which obviously won't work. But as you can see, the Medicom does use the lightest shade of blue, which I actually like because it seems a lot of these companies seem to be going to that darker or more royal blue for Superman here, but Medicom decided to go a different route, and it's a refreshing take. And then, as usual, we have our Marvel Legends Deadpool and our Star Wars Black Series Stormtrooper, just for some general size comparisons. And so, my final thoughts on the Medicom Hush Superman. We may have finally gotten one of our definitive 6-inch scale Supermen. After long last, after waiting so long, since this guy has not many good figures in this scale, we've just been starting to get some with Todd's 7-inch scale, but other than that, we haven't had really good figures of Superman in quite a number of years. So it's good to finally have one. I'm very happy with it. I like the colors. I like that they went with a lighter color blue than what we're used to. That's a nice change of pace compared to kind of the normal we see. I like the sculpt work. The QC issues were kind of obnoxious. Fortunately, like I said, the shock oil wasn't a big deal. The loose shoulders aren't bad, and I mean, that's really it as far as I'm aware. So I'm pretty happy with this release. I can't complain. Yeah, so I'm pretty satisfied. He's a good addition, and happy to see where Medicom takes the DC line. I'm super excited for Jean Paul Valley Batman from the 90s, so that's going to be exciting. And yeah, so keep up the good work, Medicom. Try to work on some of those QC issues, because I know a lot of people online have problems, but yeah, other than that, keep it up. So that's my review for the Mafex Hush Superman. Like, comment, subscribe, do what you guys do, and I'll see you next time.